so that's the right. So we're not scheduled to already.
Part of the context of the crisis we're in is that there's just so many extraordinary things going on. We're kind of in fast forward toward an unknown destiny, but it's quite a story, isn't it? It's because the results of this, at least in our linear minds, the results could either be total catastrophe, nuclear war, whatever, escalation of what's going on in the Middle East, Earth changes. When you know what the crisis is, I think you wouldn't be here if you didn't know a lot about what the crisis we're in is, and that it's also far more serious than you would be led to believe by the media or by our political leaders. And so Meredith and I moved here to Ecuador rather suddenly, and I can give you all the reasons. The main reasons were that we saw unrest coming up in the US, and we were like the second visible gringo to move here. An extraordinary week that way. We almost felt like canceling the conference. The element of fear was so high, and then it just evaporated. And that seems to be true of this place. It's maybe a little bit like Mount Shasta. It's the weather moves in, but it moves out just as fast as it moves in. So, I mean, I'm looking at all of you, and I don't think, any of you from the CIA here? It's okay, you're welcome. You know, I often urge some of the people that are involved in cover-ups and all of that to join us and, you know, take part in this enlightenment, or whatever you want to call it. So anyway, so this is MONTESUENOS. It's a retreat center. We hope you can come back. I would love to meet all of you personally and spend some time with you. And we do have residency programs here. The piece that I've been working on is free energy. And I can tell you categorically that in the 1990s, well, maybe I'll go back a little further. Here I was, a typical left-brain academic, reductionistic, materialistic, three-dimensional physicist, physics professor at Princeton University. And I took a LifeSpring training one weekend, and I had a remote viewing experience. And then I had a near-death experience in an auto accident. Then I had some healing experiences. And then I left Princeton. My colleagues did not believe. In fact, you know, here I was swilling thimblefuls of sherry at the Joseph Henry luncheons every other Tuesday, and the other professors there, of which there were 7 Nobel laureates, all males, would swill a sherry and talk about how ridiculous claims to the paranormal are. And having just had paranormal experiences, I said, gee, this isn't my tribe. Even though I had spent 40 years in it. Well, now we fast forward to 30 years later, and I'm really glad I went on a metaphysical journey, which sent me in many directions. But I was always thinking of solutions. What is it that we can do for the culture that can really make a difference? And, you know, what is the truth of the matter of why it's suppressed as well as why it exists? So I go back and forth between truth-telling consciousness and the consciousness of actually going into the solutions and thinking positively. And that's, in a way, I think that's our job here, is to be able to be respectful and understanding of where each of us is at personally in our growth and understanding of what's happening and what could be. So I got into the free energy business, if you would call it. It's not really a business because, as George knows, you know, I can't really sell my books. People aren't reading books anymore. Well, I sell a few, just here and there. So that's not why. I'm not in any kind of commercial business this way. It's more like, well, my exploration of various modalities in so-called new science has now been a journey that has taken me 3 decades and has sent me in many unexpected directions. And one of the least expected directions was when I traveled the world and visited many researchers and inventors of so-called free energy devices. And at that point I was skeptical. Even though I was openly embracing the UFO, ET phenomenon, a lot of paranormal things and healing and blah, 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 I hadn't tackled the energy piece. But it also, because I had been a professor at various universities of science policy assessment and advised presidential candidates and Congress and so forth on energy policy, I thought I'd be, and since my PhD was in atmospheric science, I was kind of a natural to begin to look at the question of climate change, atmospheric pollution, water pollution, and so forth. And believe me, it is dire. It's just as dire as the doomsdayers say about what's coming down on the planet. Just surely physically, just looking at the physical observations without getting esoteric at all, it's very clear that human interference with the planet is creating an accelerating instability that will trigger other phenomena, and it's just an outrage to me. I mean, I just, in my heart and soul, and after having studied deep ecology and done more spiritual things, I just began to realize that, gee, we're losing our Earth. And we're doing it fast, and it's our species that's doing it.
Antes pasábamos haciendo con ellos, pasaba todo el día, el de la casa,